The second Sunday in Lent, 1st of March, 2026. Theme: Lenten Journey, a Transformation and Transfiguration. The first 75 years of Abram's life are passed over in total silence. He still bears the name Abram. When God's call comes, the story of Abram begins abruptly, with a call from God to leave all for the land that it will show. The patriarch's immediate response throws him into the scene of history with according suddenness and marks the true beginning of his life. At the beginning of the story, his name is Abram, his wife's name Sarai. Only later are they changed to Abraham and Sarah. We are not told directly why this couple is a worthy choice. The tradition's usual six fill the gap, portraying Abram as the first person to realize that the world is ruled by one God who demands righteous behavior of humanity. Abraham's descendants have been marked by a willingness to stand apart from conventional thinking. We know that his wandering in Canaan were literally fitted descendant. This led Rabbi Ramban to command the Abram's wanderings foreshadowed those later generations. Not destination but the journey itself is God's will. Abram wandered not only with his feet but with his mind. A midrash pictures Abram coming across a palace with all its windows illuminated and musing to himself, "It is possible that there is no Lord at this palace." At the moment God appears and proclaims, "I am the Lord of this palace." Another midrash portrays Abraham's father, Terah, as a manufacturer of idols. One night, Abram smashes all his father's idols. The next morning, his father's innocence demanded to know who has destroyed his property. They attack each other, Abram told him. The impassible, called Terah, they are made of stone. There's no soul of spirit in them. Then why do you worship them? Abraham challenged him. God's first words to Abraham translate as "go forth," lekrika, literally means "go yourself," and Midrash interprets this to mean "go forth to find your authentic self, to learn who you are, meant to be physically. We leave our home first, then our neighborhood, and finally our country." For the first time, a journey is undertaken, not as an act of exile, Adam or Cain, or a quest for domination, the generation of Babel, but as a response to divine imperative. The Midrash plays on the hero and reads, "The land we're in, I will refer to you." God cannot be found as readily in the repellent surrounding of Haran as in the pastoral lands of Canaan. It is interesting to note that to be a blessing is not a promise but a command. To merit the promised reward, one must live as to be a blessing to the world, lest Abraham be intimidated by God's summons. God's reassure him, his admirers will be many and his detractors few. Why would anyone curse or hate Abraham who is setting out to serve God and be a blessing to all humanity? There always have been individuals and societies that resent God's tremendous moral demands and direct their resentment toward those who strive to live up to them. As usual, on the second Sunday of Lent, we have the Gospel narrative of Transfiguration of our Lord in Mount Tabor. In the Bible, the top of the mountain is considered a natural place for God encounter. That is, was the top Mount of Sinai that the Ten Commandments were given. Jesus gave his first teaching in the Sermon on the Mount, and often retired to the mountain at night to pray. He was crucified on Mount Calvary and ascended to heaven. From Mount Olive, witnessing the Transfiguration of Mount Tabor was a very special grace for Peter, James, and John. We were privileged to have God the preview of the glory of Jesus risen from the dead in his glory in heaven. However, prior to the incident, Jesus had told them that he must suffer greatly, be rejected by the elders, the chief priests and the scribes, be killed, and rise after 3 days. Peter hadn't liked the idea and let it be known to Jesus for this he was revoked. Here, after having witnessed the glorious scene, Peter wants the Lord and himself too. To stay back on the mountain, Peter knew what troubles awaited Jesus down there in the city. In the Eucharist, we celebrate our encounter with Jesus in a special manner. Being in church is a beautiful experience, but we need to get back to the reality of our lives. With all these anxieties and perplexities, all his worries and joys. For reflection discussion, God called us out of our comfort zone to relish a life of grace and peace. How are Abraham's descendants marked by willingness to stand apart from conventional thinking? Go forth to find your authentic self, to learn who you are meant to be. How do I handle the positive and negative experience during my journey of faith? God cannot be found as readily in the opulent surroundings of Haran as in the pathless lands of Canaan. Discuss with relevance to today's situation.